Kwanza mimi nina furaha sana kwa kazi ambayo Ann amefanya. Ann is an old friend who has been living in the United States, but her spirit, her heart is always here in Kenya. And she comes every year without fail to work with the youth in our country. This is really a demonstration of patriotism, as Professor Makau has actually said. The diaspora are with us here. The diaspora is a very important constituency in our country. As you know, they contribute to our GDP on an annual basis, billions of shillings, which they contribute to our economy here. And that's the reason why we say that it must be given power to vote. And secondly, we also campaigned to allow dual citizenship in our country. This because they are part and parcel of our community. You know, the country that really depends a lot on the diaspora is called Israel. The Jews are all over the world. But when Mother Israel is in distress or calls, they all respond. And they respond patriotically as Israelis. So this is what our people outside there are trying to emulate. Lakini sasa mimi nafuraha kuona vijana kutoka Kiambu wamefika hapa. Karibuni sana. And I've listened ya jua kali. That's why I want to talk to you from here. Sawa. Kwanza mimi nina furaha sana kwa kazi ambayo Ann amefanya. Ann is an old friend who has been living in the United States, but her spirit, her heart is always here in Kenya. And she comes every year without fail to work with the youth in our country. This is really a demonstration of patriotism, as Professor Makau has actually said. The diaspora are with us here. The diaspora is a very important constituency in our country. As you know, they contribute to our GDP on an annual basis, billions of shillings, which they contribute to our economy here. And that's the reason why we say that it must be given power to vote. And secondly, we also campaigned to allow dual citizenship in our country. This because they are part and parcel of our community. You know, the country that really depends a lot on the diaspora is called Israel. The Jews are all over the world. But when Mother Israel is in distress or calls, they all respond. And they respond patriotically as Israelis. So this is what our people outside there are trying to emulate. Lakini sasa mimi nafuraha kuona vijana kutoka Kiambu wamefika hapa. Karibuni sana. And I've listened, very keenly to what has been said here. This shows that there's an awakening happening in our country. That the youth are actually beginning to get the message and to take up this message. I've been saying that this country needs a third liberation. We have had the first liberation that brought independence to our country. Then the second liberation that gave us a new constitution. Now the third and final liberation is that of the economy. The economic liberation of our country. And this is a youth liberation. Vijana mko tayari? Mko tayari? So Baba, I just want to lead you into this. This is what I want, so that we can be able to leave a legacy, leave a society better than the one we lived in. This is the most important thing. As you can see, there's a lot of unemployment in our country, and it has continued to increase. Basically because not very many opportunities are being created. People are actually blaming just the government. People are looking for jobs in the public sector, in the ministries, in the parastatals, in the armed forces. But opportunities there are very limited. As you know, in our country here, if you take all the employees in the public sector, it amounts to 700,000 people who are employed by the public sector. And most of those positions are not vacant. They are all occupied. Vacancies only fall on a yearly basis when some other people die or those who are retiring. And that's about 10% of the total employment, meaning about 70,000 jobs that are available in the public sector on an annual basis. But every year we push into the labor market nearly 1 million people. The youth who are leaving schools at the level of primary, secondary, tertiary, and university. 1 million. This 1 million cannot be employed by 70,000 vacancies available in the public sector. Therefore, the answer is what? Private sector. Private sector must be the major employer in our country. And that private sector must be created. So the only area you can blame the government is by actually stifling the development and growth of the private sector. Like somebody gave you an example here, that somebody comes here with money to want to invest here in this country, but the frustrations that those potential investors undergo, right from the immigration, through the hotels, through the government bureaucracy, and the corruption in the system, frustrate them so that they actually leave this country and go and invest elsewhere. I met an American, frustrated. He was telling me that I've been asked to come back in 3 months' time. This is the third time I'm coming here. And I'm coming all the way from LA in the United States. Do these people know where LA is? It's so far. I'm not going to come again. You see? So this is what's happening. The big problem is bureaucracy, infrastructure, the cost of infrastructure, particularly energy, and then the corruption in our country is the biggest impediment to private sector investment in our country. And that does not only refer to foreign investors. Even local investors are frustrated the same way. And that's why we're saying we must change this. I know the kind of frustration that your Kali sector undergoes to be able to make the thing like this. Wanakuwa frustrated kabisa. Ngine unakuja kutafuta ati ushuru. Ngine wanapigwa kila mara kwa mara na wale maaskari inaitwa kanjo, kutolewa hapa na pale. We can actually formalize the private sector, the Juakali sector, put up proper shades for them to start where they want to start, and also give them access to capital so that they can be able to stage their businesses. And that's why we talked of creating a fund for the youth. where they can be able to borrow money and they don't have to repay until after 7 years. When those businesses have taken off, that is when they will be required to begin to repay. This will help them. Instead of running around the town, tamarking, looking for jobs, you become an employer. So being an employee, you become an employer. And there are very many potential employers among you here. You know, if you look at big companies, they have started in very small ways. I'll give you an example of Mr. Toyota. He was a shoe shine boy. Sorry, that's not Toyota, that is Mr. Hilton. Mr. Toyota was a repairer of motorcycles. Then became a repairer of scooters. They started making motorcycles. Then went to a four-stroke engine. Slowly it developed and became the Toyota empire. It can be done. I've given an example of Mr. Benz, who again did that experiment with his daughter, then took his daughter to experiment riding. Eventually he named that model after his daughter, who was called Mercedes. And that is Mercedes-Benz. So we can actually help our people to come up. You know, in the United States, it's more prestigious to be working for a General Motors than be working for a Ministry of Home Affairs. You're working for Microsoft or Boeing. It's more respectable than working for a Ministry of Foreign Affairs or there, because the private sector is not the biggest employer there, and people are paid much more money in private sector. So I've been telling our people, if you want to make money and become rich, don't go to the public sector. Public sector, you go there to serve. You don't go there to become rich. What people mistake they make, and you want to go to become rich in the public sector. Effects of the Ndegwa Commission. Here in a letter corruption. Manake, he does not want to serve, he wants to compete with the private sector in public sector. Haya yote tutamaliza. So the youth are the engine of development and growth. Na nimefurahi kuona the university students here. Comrades power. Comrades power. Asanteni sana. You are now studying in different times. I'm an alumni of the University of Nairobi. And in those days, it was very difficult for students to demand this and that. All the time, the askaris were in the campus, be arrested, beaten up, the university would be closed, and so on and so forth. Things are improving, but they have not improved the way they should. There are a lot of frustrations. That's why one of you talked about the drugs issues, effect of drugs on students and so on. The thing is, you need to address not the effects, but the causative factors. What is it that drives students into drugs? It is the frustrations, the pressures that they are under. So you need to address the causative factors rather than dealing with the consequences. And this we will deal with. We must create a conducive environment for our students to be able to learn. Because this is the future of a nation. When I talked at Kasarani, I talked about the 10 points. One of them was right to education. And it's said that each and every child in our country, irrespective of the socio-economic status of the parents, will get equal opportunity from nursery through primary, secondary, tertiary, up to university. Once they have been given the kind of the skills, then they will also be enabled to acquire employment. Those who want to go into paid employment as an employee will be able to get decent jobs that they can do, not pushing wheelbarrows at the kazi ni kazi. And those who want to go to private sector and make money there will also be enabled through access to capital, so they can be able to start their own businesses and prosper. This is what we want to do in this country, create a proper opportunity for our people. That is why I'm saying that we must partner together. This is not Raila Odinga seeking employment as the President of the Republic of Kenya. I want to partner with you so that we can be able to bring change to our country.